Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to talk about a Labyrinth Lord module known as the Inn of the Lost Heroes. And it's from Small Niche Games, and I'd like to point out right up front that I received a copy of this free of charge for the purposes of reading and reviewing. So I want no conflict of interest there. I'm going to be honest, but I'm just going to tell you that I did get a copy for nothing. Now, this is a one-shot, perfectly timed for Halloween, because it is a really well-executed horror module. But as a horror module, I think it is justified in being called a one-shot. I really don't think there's a great deal of replay with this, at least not with the same group. You could, of course, use it with other groups without a problem. The adventure is centered around the Heroes Inn, hence the part of the title. And the player characters are lured in because they're adventurers, and what adventuring party doesn't want to go to an inn to have drink and food and find a place to stay? But once committed in this adventure, the group is very much committed to this adventure. Once they're in, it's a one-way journey. Unless they figure out how to get their way out, things could end very badly for the group. In some ways, it reminded me of Dreamscape or Nightmare on Elm Street. It had a very similar tone as Nightmare to Nightmare on Elm Street, to my mind. And I think that it is equally as good, at least as the original. The sequels are forgettable. This is for like 4 to 6 characters of 3rd to 5th level. I think they are suggesting 15 to 20 total levels in the group, however that breaks down in your group. And they're gonna really need a spread of character classes. You really want to cover your bases with this adventure. Now, as a horror adventure, it does bring up some somewhat disturbing images, and a GM is really going to have to judge their group and decide if their group can handle being exposed to things that are horror elements. I don't want to jinx this for anybody, but I think that you could almost say this is an R-rated module in the sense that there are some disturbing things in it. The module itself warns that there are disturbing things in it, so for that right there, the module writers get my kudos for being upfront about it. There are parts of this, however, that could be reused. There's a really nice map of the inn, and you can always use one of those. And if you buy the PDF, you can always just print up the map and use it again and again. And what's nice about this is there is a map both for the GM and for the player characters, so that's good. There are some monsters in the back, and I think clever GM could reuse them. It may take a little bit of work because they are tied fairly tightly to the module. But there's a nice selection of non-player characters in the back of the book, and you could reuse these easily, both in the same campaign. Say they succeed with the adventure along with the player characters, they would then be in the game for the player characters to interact with at a later date. Or you could just use them out and out as NPCs in another setting if you didn't want to use them in this module. Or the extreme, which is where you file off the names and you simply use them as stat blocks, which is also handy, especially if a GM finds himself in a pinch and he needs an NPC and one of these NPCs has a stat block close to what he needs. It takes a whole lot less effort just to change a name than it does to come up with an entire new stat block, even with a game that is as simplified as Labyrinth Lords. So I think that there is quite a bit of reuse for the NPCs and potentially the monsters. And like I said, who can't use a good map? So I think this is an excellent Halloween one-shot. It's going to really bring to the table that sense of being in a horror movie. I think it could be enhanced by the right kind of soundtrack and some dim lighting. I'm not necessarily going to encourage candlelight because I really don't like candles. But some appropriate lighting, maybe especially if you have this, you're doing this in a room with a dimmer, would really enhance the environment. And of course, if you had a pet wander through it at an inappropriate time and make noises, that would work as well. So if you're looking for a Halloween adventure, this is available as a download, so you can have it in your little hot hands as soon as you're done watching this video. So I recommend this module from Small Niche Games.